Hi guys, name's Rebel. Since I doubt anybody is going to see this at all, at least not live, and I have not streamed in a number of years. Let me show you what I'm working with today. Is a mess, big mess of a project. So I've got a couple projects I'm integrating into a bigger live development environment. That basically, let's see. I don't need to look at those yet. Um, there's three aspects to it. One is the database. Um, two is or the DBMS and databasing. Two is the authentication server and system. uh, the those are mostly disconnected except for where the database relies on the authentication. Um, and then the third aspect is the live build environment itself. I'm trying to so I kind of slowly built up first the first two, and then I built like a web project based on top of it. Nothing amazing, just a actually, let's see if I can get those. Let me turn this website one off. I will share right now this one. It's just like a splash screen with a login screen, and it's going to be broken because in the process of making this big mess, I renamed my folders and stuff because I happen to be as I added more and more to the project, the intent was never to like, develop multiple things in one space. It just kind of organically unfolded, which is what I'm going to be primarily working on today is de-spaghettifying. Okay, so we start out with, well organized, well defined. Yeah, you can watch the process like slowly get worse and worse as I add more to it. So we've got very clean, very organized, these enum and mutable enum strong definitions that will, freeze all of the keys in a particular object. This UUID is just stolen. Doesn't really matter. But, good notation, good, like, informative comments, strong, like, error and message relay system. And so these enums, once this process is started or this module's started, those will all be, frozen. The mutable enum down here, so I mean they're defined into different categories too. The data definition, relationship types, relationship qualifiers. These are like methods for like destroying objects and stuff. So the database is not very featureful, but it's enough for basic CRUD stuff. And then mutables, the same enum strength, except it's just not a frozen object. So go from like this sort of like robust, strong type structure to the sort of mess. I'm gonna find the biggest, ugliest mess I've been working. This nightmare of a file, and this innocently started out as one place for me to start with the build environment, and then that turned into Jesus Christ. I'm at that 730 lines here. And that's after I had begun this process of refactoring and starting to slowly move the utility functions into different different locations. So we kind of have the spectrum of from the best coding practices basically I can produce to the worst, the normal, like just kind of bodging through as much functionality as I can, as quickly as I can to test big compounding routines, um, and and everything in between. So this is what we're going to be cleaning up today. Let me rename some of these folders real quick so I can show you what the first app that kind of triggered this triggered this most recent mess. So this public folder, of course, because it's in use here, and because this and because this. So some of these are running with NodeMon. I've got multiple multiple servers here. So okay, it did rename that to public. In order for this site to run, I need to have npm run. Oh, actually, that one's right here. This is the live build environment. I don't need that running because I didn't start building this until afterward. Npm run website. Let me check. I think I named these different things as I started adding shit in there. So these other build versions, I think they're still good. This one basically configures the ignore files, give it a build directory and a source directory. Those will act. Oh no, that's the bottom one. Give it a build and a source directory, and it's running in dev mode with a 5-second update. So because it's a live environment, basically every 5-second checks for changes to the source folder and updates the build folder accordingly. And so far, it's working swimmingly. There are a few kinks to work out, but now that I've got all of the pieces together, it's definitely time to stop and spend several hours at least cleaning and organizing so that you can have a cohesive thought when digging through that sort of file. But we don't need the WebSockets server. We do need the website. That's on 9003, and it also needs. Wait, I think this one. Here, I'm gonna stop this because I can run the server on this one. Come on. Alright, so instead of running website, I will run. This is the database, is the server. I need to run the authentication server. Database. Let me get a new one. Rename it to auth. npm run. And I will walk through each of these processes. Let's see if that was sufficient. I think so. Localhost, and that's on 9003. It's not loading shit. What's wrong here? That's on 9003. This is in the public here. Oh, and views. I need to stop the dev mode server. This is part of the thing. I really should not be developing multiple things in the same environment. I'll wind up overriding something that I'm invested in, and I'll be in a shitty mood after that, I guess. Alright. Dev mode's not gonna fuck anything up. I'm gonna move this views, rename to... Oh, I can actually delete that one because it will just regenerate once I turn it back on. Delete it. Go away. Fucking Microsoft. And this. Oh, fuck off. That's half of the problem. It doesn't like something that I'm running is relying on. So let's stop all of them because it's not happy with me. Database. None of these are relying on that view. I know. Oh, I guess it updated. Maybe VS Code cache or something, not happy with how much shit I've done. Alright, let's turn auth back on. Do not turn dev mode on, but let's go npm run. That should be enough. Hey, there we go. So this is just an example. This is the splash screen. There's a login screen. And then I started adding, so there's more than just the pages that you can add. There's different page types. So one of them is like a page slider. And so these buttons are all these following pages are on like one big slider page, which acts as its own page manager, but can be animated. So you see there's like a little bit of a bounce. I have a whole like tweening library in here. And I obviously, you know, I'm going to have these where you have to type stuff first. But that's all that there is in this project. There's just the login stuff and the splash screen. But I want to get to the point in the live development environment where I can recreate this entire app and all of its functionality, because this is actually connected to that auth server and the database. I want to be able to recreate everything just by like just spinning up new projects and stuff inside that live build environment. And that's what I'll be doing. So let me stick this. I'm going to stick that views back in the, first of all, do not want that one up. I don't want anything except the dev mode up right now. And before I turn dev mode, let's see, I want to back this. And honestly, if I screw this up and do overwrite that, it's not that unsafe of a practice. Most of the views I have in here, all of these HTML ones, are not actually in use. It's just these EJS templates. And because the build environment is at where it's at, most of that work is handled, actually. So, so it would be very easy to recreate whatever goes missing. Let's turn the dev mode back on. I don't think there's any settings I need to change. So there, it will build. This is the build folder and the views folder, which are separate. The source folder is where the build comes from. There are a number of defaults, like this fonts. Let's see. I've stuck a bunch of fonts in here because these are the fonts that I used in the project. But basically, I'm going to walk through, before we start refactoring, I'm going to walk through kind of all the steps. You just run the build environment. One of the defaults will be this. So like, let me copy those so I can stick them back in once I delete it. If you delete fonts, it's going to stick them right back there. A new clean file. I don't know how to make it stop doing automatically closing that tag. God damn it. There we go. Anything that you stick in the extras folder will be put in the build folder in its exact subdirectory. Like in here, you have the CSS, fonts, and images. All of these will be in the build folder, this CSS, fonts, and images. The 1, 2, styles.css is generated by the system styles. So this is, all of the fonts that get included, and this will automatically update from that. If I go ahead and go like this, and I save it, go back over here, only the fonts that you include in the fonts file, in the fonts resource file, will be included in the system generated. The same with all of these variables. There are some system generated variables that are necessary that you can override. Like you can override any of the font sizes, the colors, but there are some that are in there by default, and then anything else that gets put into your resource files, at least into the correct resource files, like the colors and stuff, those will be system generated as well. And I'll go over those ones, but just for an idea of how it will look, these are the variables for like the text input for the different classes. There's for buttons, for cards, the different types of layout views, text views, image views, and canvas views. So those are like a bunch of defaults. I'm absolutely going to need to change. I just kind of stuck stuff in there. And then these are the classes that are generated by them. So when you go to create a new layout file, a new resource file for a layout, which will look like this under views, I've got this splash screen, and that's the root element is a linear view. This is has the splash screen ID, so it's going to connect to the splash screen.js, and this will naturally extend the page class unless I explicitly open that JS file and make it extend a different class. So and that is found in the controllers file. This splash screen file is where that controller is. Currently, I'm basically just overriding, just setting the name to the ID and just overriding the init, load, and close. These are connected to the network handler, and that's why I have them commented out, because I haven't actually tested having those put in from the live build environment yet. But it's going to have a few built-in classes like that on top of just the page handlers and stuff. There's a network handler, local resources and stuff. So essentially, it's just building the app up with the appropriate resource files and classes, and then it will just update the build folder in real time as you develop the project, and it should, the end result is to produce this fully functional single page JS app with EJS views in Node, and the included resources that you select as well. Currently, it's just kind of including a bunch of shit, but I need to add to the build definitions right here. So this is something that will have a default file as well. So there are like default values when you first run it. or if you delete it, that will get put in there. So you just update it to like update your project name, the version, author. You can change the different directories that are used. Let's see. Oh, back to splash screen. But if you look at it, um, other than just having that console log statement, uh, it's a vertical. So I do have proper, definition files that make developing in these views or in this like view system um, very easy. It makes it so you really can't be missing required attributes, or you can't um, spell them improperly or use them improperly. Um, I need to update the ID system a little bit because I think I was a little too loosey goosey at first in defining those regex patterns. Um, oh, it looks like I may not be online. If looks like somebody watched at some point. It's not receiving enough video. I mean, I see myself on there. I'm not gonna fuck with it. If it's a bad video, whatever. It's coming down. No one's gonna pay attention to this. So anyway, I've got this is a vertical orientation, so I've got two layers. It's gonna have a text view on top with a title that just says 2 columns, 48 pixel font size. There are um, the default variables that can be used as, or the system variables that can be used, as well as you can refer to other variables by their ID, uh, such as this text color black. That one is broken. Once I do the refactoring, I'll have to go through several dozen variables and make sure they're defined properly and that each one is looking up by ID correctly and stuff. But then underneath that title is a horizontally split linear view, each with a vertically split linear view with the title that says pros and cons, and then a list underneath. And so it's going to be an empty list and everything. It's not going to look like too much, but this is enough of a baseline to show, to make sure that it's producing the results we're expecting. So let me make sure website is back up, and this time, I broke something because it's loading the shit from the other website. Let me check out. Let's see, console. Nope, this just says the splash screen shit. It says there's no network manager, tween, page manager, app. Those are all right here. Scripts class. Maybe it's the browser because I didn't actually close that tab. Let me try again. Localhost. Oh, no, because I called website, right? And it's not website. It's that website temp. That's where I'm actually running the, so now let's try to reload that and see what happens. Hey, that's exactly what we expected. And if we go, just press F12. We go ahead and look at, this is where pages get put in the content main. Here's the template generated by, this is the template generated by that XML layout file, and this is where it gets plugged into. So We got the main linear view, vertically separated, the top title text view, the bottom two linear views on the left and right hand side of this one. Yep, each with their own title and nothing below. That's exactly what I expected. So now that we know where everything is, have an idea of the structure, know what it takes, I will go ahead and dig into the spaghetti code and do some refactoring here. This fucking mess. I think the easiest way, instead of just building up a couple well-defined class files, is have individual functions inside of this helpers folder. And that's because they're too disjoint. I could either if I put all of these different functions into one well-defined class, it would be a well-defined class that's 90% of this ginormous file. Or it would be a bunch of individual classes, each with only a single function, and would be kind of redundant. So I think the easier way is just to individually, like I did with the validate themes, is to stick each one of these big functions into the appropriate file here under helpers. So directory build. Fucking mess. That's actually probably one of the cleanest. Just every step there makes sense. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Mutable. Actually, I think the mutable global is the only thing I'm importing there. Mutable global. System defs. Yep, so that's the correct place. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, I need fs path. Alright, that should be good. And then I need to go ahead and import that same thing. Come on. Oh, it's not build like that, it's directory build, right? Was it called directory build or build? Yeah. Oh, I need to. Duh. Need to export. Maybe I shouldn't even be doing it like that. I should just have the one export. But that's part of refactoring. I'll keep it consistent for testing. Yep, there we go. Now every time I save, let's see, restarted and nothing broke. Maybe I should fix that. How do you do? I think that's TypeScripty, right? That won't work. Yeah. Whatever. I'll fuck with that later. Let's do that to all of these, at least these big ones. So the default files build, I don't like working with XML as objects like this. This seemed to be the cleanest way to do so, and if anyone has a reason not to, I will absolutely change it. Um, I mean, I do like that this is robust, and if you fuck up at all, it will let you know. So, um, you'll see in just a moment how big default files build. How big some of those I've had to make. Where am I? In the helpers. Default file. Yeah, I know I typed slow. So here I've definitely got fs, the mutable files, path, XML. You know what? I will take all of these because I know this one is probably one of the biggest. A lot of these utility functions I had are uh, heavily reliant on these three right here because I mean those were the three I was using. Then yeah, mutable globals used like everywhere. I do have this default value. This radish color can easily be removed. It just gets stuck into the default colors um, resource file. Okay, so that's default files. Let's try. Why is it not recognizing them quickly enough? Save it and what? System defs. Oh, because I referred to system defs inside of both of these, I think. That's... This is the one I forgot is up a level. Yep, it's unfucked. Now, extra files build, just because it's a utility function, even though it's small. Same thing. Same for all of you. Extra files. YouTube keeps saying it's airing out. Maybe nobody's ever gonna see this. Probably. I'm fine with that. Those are passed. Wait a minute. So, actually, let me see. Yeah, the only place that was being called, I will change this to the mutable globals extra. Just, I want the file. I want the functions to be consistent in how they're written. So, go ahead and say this because I'm going to need this. Now, this current path is the extra files build. Mutable global extras directory, I mean, right? Yeah. And then the destination in the directory build is what turns into whoa. I may not be setting just the destination directory, which is kind of wild because I set or a source. Huh. I guess I did that on purpose, but now it makes more sense to do it. What a weird decision. All right. So I'll change this to just say source directory. And that, I don't care. For consistency and look, I'll leave it with path join. Seems so silly. I bet I'll appreciate that later, though. Not you. Okay, so that one is going to be mutable global source directory. And then destination directory. Gotta do the same. In fact, nope, not changing them. I refuse. Destination directory. Mutable global. Destination directory. And in mutable global, I want that. I want those hard coded. Or not hard coded. I want those defined explicitly. Source and destination. I have not entered those properties in the notation yet. Alright. I don't think that really could have broken anything. But, let's see here. In the extra files build, before I save that, that's only one place I've used that. Okay. Wait, current path. That was supposed to be the extras directory, right? Yeah, then destination. So I was already using it that way. And this has not failed me yet. I think there's probably conflicting stances there, but I think it's probably better to know if something's missing right away. Oh, I never imported it, huh? Alright. This one is extra files. Extra files build. Let's see. I broke something. Maximum call stack. I did break something. I didn't fucking change anything. I don't need this. For each listing in the extras directory, which is where I was already looking. What? The args. Did I not get to watch confusion in real time? Let's see what I fucked up here. It ain't this. I'm not even using that build full. I should remove these partials for now. These different entry points. Is there a way I can set comments on this? What did I break? What is it even saying? Moving on that path. But I set it to destination. The extras directory, and then whatever destination was. Which is the path.join that. Oh, maybe that's actually the problem. When I called it oh, fuck. I think I'm path joining twice here because this source and destination I liked it like that. I commented though. I call my own bullshit. No. Maybe I need to join the dot to. This is where I'm going to join them, but I'm going to do it like this. For both. Then I won't do it in the default. So I save that. that should still be fucked up, and then it should be unfucked when I come here and say that this just equals source. This one default equals just build. Now, there ain't no fucking problem. What? Am I calling it down here too? Oh, gross. Just directly sending the arguments after dev mode, which source. There's the culprit. You know what? I'm fine with that. Oh, but because I changed the package file. What in the ass am I doing? What? You mean? Here, let me see. Time for debugging. I thought that was just some typo. Or some dumb thing I overlooked. Whoa. What in the fuck? Huge array. Now, there's something nuts going on there. Where I was using that before was only inside of here. Only, right? Yeah. So you import. Is it in the full build and the... That's a little crazy. What? Now, it is... It's supposed to be recursive because that's going to look at everything here. CSS, fonts, images. So it's printing the names of these 3 folders. So changing that was a dumbass idea because the fucking thing was recursive. Join that plus the listing, which is the next directory. God damn it. I can do it like this, though. So the default, the first time, it will be, problem solved. Look at that. First level, second level. All right. Pay better attention, Rebel. All right, next. function. I know I have several recursive functions built similarly to that too, so I need to pay better attention. Load resources. I think that was the one I already... No. This one I need to actually fix too. So basically in load resources, this is where I look up everything in the all of the extra resource files that get put in this directory. And I did it this way because I do want user-defined variables to be permitted, but currently the only ones that can function with it in its current state are hard defined string, color, and variable. So and this one is just simple. That will be easy. Another thing is the XML library, the XML to JS, doesn't seem to work like the synchronous. I did see in like the note in the documentation too, at least on the CDN, that there was some issues with the synchronous functionality, and I could not get the synchronous functions to work. So I have a bunch of asynchronous functions in here that all just like await the XML stuff. It's not a big deal, but that's something I need to keep in mind if I overlook any awaits and things start behaving weird. So what was this one? Load resources. All right, so in load resources, we need that one is XML FS path. I don't think I use path in here. No, but let me just snag them. I need one with XML. Snag everything. Oh, I am using path here. And that should be good enough for that one. Let me import it. Load resources. Oh, I should say module.exports. Save. There we go. Load resources. Let's try it. And next, build styles. That's a big messy one that I think I'm going to only export the one function, the build styles, and then break each section. So for that, these sections are almost identical. In like here, colors, themes is the one exception because I had to verify the themes against their definitions, which is now handled in the XML definition files. However, because one thing very tricky to figure out, and one thing kind of crazy I implemented is this real-time XSD implementation here. So this definition file for the themes and the themes only, they're the exception here. I want it so that the themes must strictly adhere to the definition, and I didn't want to have to pull that into its own separate file. Even if I had it in its own separate file, it would still require like changing the definition file for what a layout is. So I just kind of cracked down on it and spent like an evening trying to, well, not trying, successfully implementing like a real-time updating XSD file that defines the construction of a theme. So like currently it's just got 2 colors, but if I wanted to implement a font and say like this is like the bold font, so you want each theme to have like a bold and a fine font, and it is on that 5-second loop, so it'll take a minute to, there we go. So now these themes are improperly defined, and it will even say that it's missing the 2 fonts. So that's pretty cool, and it even will automatically like fill in the names. So I can say the font I'm using, I think it's called Creato Display Thin, and then the other font for the bold one is Creato Display Bold. Yep. Nice. And so this theme, now that it's correctly defined, will work. And I will just copy the same ones. So then once you do that, before I save that, let's take a look at that generated, that system generated style sheet as well. And this one, above the classes here in, somewhere in here will be the themes. Oh, fuck, you know what? I had the themes defined before. I'm glad I noticed that now. Because I don't think it's defining the themes anymore. Let me save it and see if that... Oh, hang on, it is. Cool. It was not defining them, so that's why I wanted that extra layer of like verification in the build styles function, or validation, because if the themes don't strictly adhere to that definition, then they just won't be included. But now we've got all 2 themes that I have defined, and if I screw one of them up, I think it will still, yeah, it'll still include the other. Let me fix it. There, it's that simple. If this is like a little too heavy on the explanation, hopefully all of this is starting to at least make sense, and it seems, I feel like I did this, I feel like this is well structured and I did it for a good reason. It seems like way over engineering a very very small problem, but it outputs the exact type of project structure I like to build myself, and I would absolutely be lying if I said that I'm not personally going to use it a lot in my future. So that's cool. And then this is like that radish, just since I'm here on the colors file. So we've looked at fonts. I'm going to put these other fonts back in here because I don't know which ones I'm implementing or not. The colors file, that's basically the same. You have the color schema, and you can just stick a bunch of new colors in here. If I get rid of that radish, it will simply no longer be included in this in the system generated. You can change optionally, like you can change that 5-second update loop, and eventually I'm going to have it set to something much more rapid. But currently, while I was developing so many so many like deeply robust functions all at once, I didn't feel like it was necessarily safe, and I felt like just to avoid myself a ton of crashing and stuff, and fighting with it, just let it run every 5 seconds. But everything's pretty safe. Like, these won't update unless a file actually gets updated, and it's not like something that will constantly. In fact, that's even the reason why I have the predefined node_mod JSON, because I only want it explicitly updating. I have it ignoring all of the output potentials, because once you build big enough outputs, eventually, like, if you have it on a loop like that, instead of running just on the dedicated loop and you run it on node_mon, it will start, and then it will output a file. It will recognize that file as a new thing that's been saved, and so it's going to restart, and it's going to output the same file, and you wind up with that mess. So we're done with that system thing. I do want that radish there because whatever. Variables, same. There's an example variable just set to 0 pixels. Doesn't do anything. It's pointless. But this just like when you first start up your file or your project, then you know where all your variables go and how they're formatted. The different variables too. All of these are well defined. So the color needs to have the ID. It will snap to greeny, and it's not a well-defined. It will take RGB colors or RGBA, HSLA, and hex. 8-digit hex. Greeny. There. That's not important at all. Let's get. Oh, so that explains. Kind of. That explains this, like, the style structure. Now, in each of those files, because they're basically all the same, with the exception of the themes, these are all basically the same. Is its own parser. We'll look up that fonts file. Wait, start with colors, whatever. Look up the fonts file, and then go through each file. We'll go through each entry in the fonts resource file as a JSON element, and then give a few warnings for malformations, and this is just what places them into that style sheet. This is what places all the colors into the style sheet. Then for the themes, it validates, pretty deeply validates them, and then sticks those into the style sheet. And then finally, before actually adding, it's adding them all to this like style data, in which I use several cursors. The first is defined with Hmm. Oh, the first one is actually just cursor. YouTube is giving me errors still, so I don't fucking know. But it will go through, each part of it, move the cursor to where it needs to, and then just keep compiling it that way. Because this function is so verbose and convoluted, it's not really convoluted, actually. It's very sound logically. It's just very dense. This one, nope, I want that. Let's do that one next. Into build styles and helpers. Where are my helpers? Build styles JS. I know it's going to need all of those imports. There's no way it won't. This is like the most dense. And hopefully I won't even have to change anything. I'm going to test it after each one of these just in case I wind up with another like similar to the extra files thing. Build styles here and then to import. Build styles. Build styles. And something broke. Let's see. Oh, file needs update. That was part of it. Oh no, the file needs update is actually from, because I'm not using them here anymore. That's from the system defs. I can definitely do that. And then update file. View is not defined. Oh, I guess. Yeah, I necessarily used a lot of things in here from the system dev. Cool. It's not broken anymore. Now, I'm surprised data definition, no, those are well defined. So I guess it makes sense. Changing the requirements here. Build views. I did temporarily just stick this has run check in there. And I don't like that because that means it's only going to run once per like per nodemon reload. The better way to do that, the error it was just giving me, this file needs update and update file. Those are just MD5 checks here. Where the fuck is my build defs? This is a really useful way to... Yeah, just these two functions. It just checks like an MD5 hash of the file, and if that's the same as what's mapped in the global checksums, then it doesn't need to update. It will return false, and if it does, then, or if they are different, then it's obviously a new hash, which means the file has changed since the previous update, and will need to update again. And then update file is just, saving the new hash. So that I think is a really simple and useful implementation that will tell me, oh, that's going to be over here. So on build views, the only thing that's complicated is I will have to basically make a new. Let me see that again. Oh, okay. So if it doesn't exist already, it will return true saying it needs to be updated. So that's even easier. Okay. Um, so basically, I guess every file that I load um, from the views directory, I should just check on and then. So if file needs update for file, is that the whole content? Oh, wait, you can tag each file as well, in case you check it in different places, which I actually do, like that, um, with the colors file. I wind up checking that in multiple places, so I can like tag the same thing, like tag the file once and not check it, or not check it without that tag until after the second one, or I can basically check the updated version of that file by using a different tag. So if you set the first hash um, under this like build styles tag to like the colors file with the build styles tag, it will append that to the color file's name, to the key. And so it's actually like two separate keys um, for the same file. And so if one key refers to like the first modification of the file, the second key is going to be that modified version file of that file, but only the modified version. And so if I append like a second key to it, if the first one does modify it, then that hash will change for both of them, so the second key will have to update if and only if the modified version has been updated. So I don't need to append a key to them though. I might. No. I will say it's from build views, just in case. Actually, yeah. You just can continue that for loop, and if after I'm done doing everything with it, I will say update file, appended build views. And now I want to also log file just so I can see just so I can confirm that it's hashing those correctly. Console log file, and I no longer want this dummy check here. Didn't do anything for the views. Oh, if it does not need to update, then you continue. But it does need to update because it doesn't exist. Uh-oh. Console loft? Alright. That's a me problem. Fully connected. Aw, shit, ass. Nah, it's gotta be file path. Cool. Splash, XML, and then it's no longer just updating all the time. If I add a new layout file in there, it should do the same. New file. That is something I'm gonna have to. So I have a lot of like fail silently because it's a live build environment that don't want it crashing out during normal operation because it's going to be in a lot of unexpected states during normal operation that will then be by the user put back into expected states. So like here, I'm going to take this test file. You know, even if it's an exact copy, no, I need to change the ID. I need to figure out globally universal IDs for the different views, and that's something that I will absolutely have to do programmatically. So that's coming up. Test with a test controller, no style explicit. Save it. All right. Now, speaking of fail silently, that's really cool to know that that worked. One problem taken care of. That's going to be like right here. I think this is what caused it to fail was the oh, it was absolutely inside of the generate EJS template. Because, which I can confirm by doing something like this. And no longer calling the generate EJS template, which is right here. Yeah, that's another that in itself is going to be its own task because inside of this recursive function I need to well, like currently I have for each CSS property look up the like the XML version of it by its property name and then to spit out like a CSS formatted version of that and then it appends that in line with that tag. Probably not the best way to do it, but it's the guaranteed functional way for now. Well, shit. Where, I don't know why add controllers is in between these functions, because it is not related. Hmm. And that's a super easy function too. I did the same thing here. Oh, that's supposed to be that way because I'm not hashing shit there. Stick that there. So all three of these functions. Oh, now that it's not, let me save that. If I stick a new file here, it will not crash. It will fail. No, it will crash. Where am I crashing? 49? File content is just that file. Oh, it's this error that it's giving me, so that's actually my fault. I did handle it, but because if it can't parse it, then it's not going to be a proper XML, and it's not this EJS thing. Okay. Here, maybe just silently whine until it's fixed. Or maybe it could just fuck off and ignore it if it doesn't work. Fail silently, not a problem. Alright, so test, delete, new, not splash screen, new, delete. Cool. You really should be catching. It's hard to go, against your better judgment and like intentionally not be catching errors or this whole thing is this sort of project just by its nature is bodging and faking your way through every step because Node.js is not built for this kind of. I did build styles already. It's build views I'm on. Yeah, let's see. And there's not really like a standardized approach to like framework building. Well, I mean in the sense of like the process flow of this kind of shit. So this is what we get. In fact, fix it later. Fix it later is like my motto through this whole thing. So no view here, which is kind of funny that styles used view, but views doesn't use views. Then I need to build views. Oh shit. Module.exports equals build views, save view, and build views right there. And it's broken. Let's see. Where? No such file or directory. Views? Oh, these use current directory inside of that build views in a number of places right there. Yeah. Fuck. Can you path join dot dot like back out of their name? Because those do need to be in. I just moved it to helpers. When really it should be. It was just an engine before. This is gonna be a little fucky. But let's see how many of these. Please don't hate me. Oh my gosh, it worked. Oh, what an ugly thing to do. But I regret nothing. Let's see. You know what? That is ugly. Let me at least try to be a little better about it. Dot dot those, I think, and that did it here too. Okay. Now. Oh my gosh. Only 250 lines, and most of that is this fucking ChatGPT shit. This is just like the logging for. If I'm not calling it inside of my my JSON process, my package.json file, I would call it with the arguments, and so if I called it help, let's try it. Node libs. What did I call it? Engine libs engine build.js. If you just run it like that, you get So, it's because it's already in use. That. Let me turn this off. Back over here. So use help for the build menu this is all that it was this kind of shit. Oh, an H. No different things. The full build and build view and clean. In fact, the only one that works now, at first, it was these. Now that I have the live build environment, it only works in dev mode. But if you want to like look at the specifics, then you do -h dash whichever one you're looking for. Gives you the specifics of that. Oh. Some weird spacing on the wraparound. That's... I don't know if I even need that shit. It seems like because it's expected to be run from the the environment arguments, then really nothing below here, like nothing below this is necessary. And in fact, if the dev mode is where I continue building and stays as, robust and useful as it is, the other build types might not even be... It might not need to do anything besides the one thing, and that's, to turn on and do what you... and just build the project alongside you. So, okay, this has gotten a little better. These are all still ugly, but no longer using XML from here. I mean, now I think it looks better. And this XML schema server here does apply to all of... That is both the layout and resource files. That applies to everything except for the themes file, which the themes resource file, which relies on that generated XSD. Now I think it's separated enough. Holy shit. Maybe I should just put faith in it and delete all of this, saying I'm no longer going to use. I think that is precisely what I need to do. In fact, these source and destination things should be replaced here in the build defs, which is why I stuck these here. I'm also probably going to change the build defs to XML as well, so I can have that same like definition enforcement, because that's proven to be very useful throughout this whole project. Once I get this build environment broken down like I'm doing, then shit. I'll leave all this lower shit for later, because I can just get rid of it in the future. That's good enough, I think. Now, on to just this library. This engine library. The DBMS one is pretty clean. I like that, actually. This one's going to be a lot bigger, too, because I will have the default... These default styles, basically all of the CSS classes are defined here. And this is, you know, like which CSS value each variable is to. This is its oh, this is what it's set to for that. Yeah, this is what the value gets set to for that element, and then the ID is like what the variable ID is before it's pulled down. So if it doesn't have an ID, then that value is hard coded into the class. If it does have an ID, then that variable can be reused amongst different classes, or can be overridden by the user. So the only ones that can't be overridden, like the width and height on cards, those need to be like required. Actually, those were supposed to be the min width. That's the kind of shit that that I need to like come through. This is all just kind of winging it and guessing. So once I get to start working on converting this project in my source folders, I've just got this splash screen, which is not the splash screen I want. I want it to function exactly like the one I had before. So that's what I think I'll do here. I'll start adding views, building up the project, and debug it as you go along, and hopefully get it to where it's generating the same exact project that I had built first before the live build environment. So that being said, in the linear view, oh, I think I want a text view. Let's compare them. Here's the views backup. Oh no, that's views that's being generated currently, right? Yeah. So inside the old one, this one is what I'm copying with this splash screen. It's literally, oh, the way I made that like circle effect was just rotating a div with a smaller after that had a 50% radius, and then I have them all timed, spaced out on like the CSS quadratic animation. So I think I defined an empty div as empty. This is the thing, it's so messy. There's just so many things to keep track of all at once. Empty is not defined. Let me copy this button thing. This does not need to have shit. Actually, yeah, I will not define anything to it. Empty. You don't have a tag there, but nothing. But that means Oh, on the splash screen page, got the template. The div is the outer content. Um, Maybe I should change that from linear to constraint, and then uh, 5 empty divs, and then the text view of fully connected. That should be easy to do. I don't know what height I set those to. The string. And then these empties are probably not defined yet because I have to update that server. Revalidate. Oh, these ones are defined in the layout XML, not in the resource. I do probably need that in both because it constitutes a class, but an empty doesn't even need. I'll put a basic attributes just in case. Empty with basic attributes. Then up here, let's go ahead and say that this is an empty. Now, what is, oh, it's complaining about that. Okay, so way back over here. Oh, empty is not going to cry about that anymore. 5, and the span, and this I don't want to be linear. I want that to be a frame view, I think, which means no orientation. And why the fuck did you duplicate? That should be all it takes to fix that. Should just say fully connected. Oh, and then the styles. On the style explicit. So if the style explicit tag is set on a view, that means that for that view, it does have it does have a designated CSS file. I think I'm going to, like, if that tag is set, make it so that the container div, like inside of the template, the content div will have an additional class which is defined like only in that CSS file so that they can that CSS file will work exclusively for the elements of that view. So that's not necessary right now, but I think I can define things like there's no color there. Oh yeah. So all of these, even though I wrote font size and color and shit like that here, inside of the layout one, this isn't nearly as deeply defined. It's only defined by these attribute groups. clickable has a color. But maybe I need like a drawable attributes group, which has like, so anything with a background color and I guess related attributes uh, should be put in the drawable attributes, I think. I'm kind of, if you can't tell, aimlessly coding at this shit. Let me take the color from this one. I no longer want that on the clickable attributes. Oh, I guess it kind of has to have. So anything with clickable needs to have drawable. So button like this needs to have. Oh, that's before clickable. Needs to have a drawable attributes. And that means that these also need to have all of the different frames need to have the drawable attribute group. So let me just take the group like this, stick it in, that was frame view I used, I think. Extends root view as the attribute group. Linear view has an orientation. Oh shit. I thought orientation was defined in maybe we should make one called like flippable attributes or something. Let's see, that's frame, linear, grid, and constraint. Linear, frame, grid. There we go. Now that's defined. Let's go here and say this can now, as a drawable, have a color. Nice. And I'll leave that to a system color of dark. Hopefully that will be sorted out by the styles processor already. And is website up and running? It is. Ugh. It's running verbose. But whatever. Let's refresh. And I'm getting nothing here. Let's see. Oh, the template is empty. So what the fuck? Rebel? Let's see. That's the fave icon. I don't care about that. The splash screen, it says not being generated, but it is, and that. Oh, so it's even generating them the way I expected. That's good to confirm. Let me just close or delete views just to see if it needs a refresh. Yes, delete. That templates should not at all be empty. Unless I really fucked something up. Maybe it was in defining the empty and I don't have the logic to handle that yet. So, let's look a little further. I know it's generating, which is great. And oh, because it's for real not generating the splash screen. It did update that other splash screen file temporarily, which means it knows kind of what it's doing. Let's see, on build views, probably remember this whole thing. I believe this may be where I did not define color, first of all. This may be where it is fucking up. So color is going to be... I have color as background color and the text color is text color. Text color is color, color is background color. I think that's more sensible than the way it actually is. Why in the fuck? It's gonna be in views. Oh, it is. So it was because I hadn't saved. I don't think it was even that color. I think it was because I hadn't saved the where. Here, let's see. Refresh. Get nothing. There's nothing under templates. So time to do some logging and see. I mean, it has this, obviously, font size, flags. Oh, I guess I don't need the gravity there. And frame view, I have no idea how that's defined. So splash screen maybe is in... Oh, dude, I bet you... I think I figured it out. In the source folder... where splash screen extends... Nope, that's correct. Let me see if... Oops. Save it like that. And that's in controllers. That should update the public. Not build. I'm not even using build anymore, I don't think. Oh, right above it. Well, no shit. Is it build that I'm using here then in the website temp? Let's see. Yeah. So it is the build folder. Okay. So it is the build folder. 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 So it is the bu this is my like state of perpetual confusion that I just live in. This one, so it will log, should, I say will, but won't. Okay, it's not even creating that, which means, let's check the app. What? So it's skipping a very crucial step here. What the fuck? Because I know that was working before. Oh, fucking bitch ass. What did I do? Let's see what's here. Whatever. You stay there. Build views. Before this one on the main app data. So for each view, like while it's building that view from the file, which we know is working, is where the page manager add page line is supposed to be happening. And does not. So it's time to find out why. Console log class name. This is in dev mode. Nope, splash screen page. Perfect. Why in the fuck is it not adding it? What? That means it is definitely adding it there. It's even erasing the cursor that I had set for it. Splash screen page, which is the... So basically, like right here, it should be adding a line that says like page manager, add page, new, splash screen page. I think that's it. So it just adds that. And then when you do that, oh, fuck you. Oh my god. Wait, is it overriding that after I made it? This is in the build. So, it is. It's overriding it before I can... Oh, shit. See if I can reload it fast enough. Maybe? No, it unloaded it right away. Oh, fuck me. So why is it not adding it? That's the real problem. It finds the cursor, this cursor right here, pages. I know it's replacing it because if it wasn't replacing it, it wouldn't. See, this shit was working perfectly fine before I fucked it all up. And it's fine to use it like this because that page manager, like this building this app.js file, that's like the client side backbone for for all of the like page functionality that goes on within. And I know that that has like a rigid structure. Maybe I need to log the main app data? What the fuck? Bro. See? Okay. It even says it. Look at that shit. It is in fact adding it. I know it is. Let's see, what is the problem here then? It's writing it to the controller's output directory, app.js, and it's writing that. Is that going here? Wait, that's not my... That's the predefined one. That's not going here. No, not at all. It is going here, though. Fuck. It shows it being added, that cursor being moved down, and you can see that the cursor's overridden. But I'm losing a line here. Which makes no fucking sense. In fact, it should be adding a new page for each one of the pages that have... It's only the splash screen too. There's only one screen in there that should be doing that. I don't even need to call catch here because it wouldn't be printing these out if it wasn't fucking doing it. Whatever. It's coffee and a break time. I may stream. It looks like some people actually looked at this shit. I apologize for wasting your time. Hopefully I've got something amazing to show and I'll stream again soon when it'll be a little more exciting and not just watching me bang my head on the desk.